What is up, you guys? So it's a Friday, and I just wanted to share a few things that I learned at working at a strip club. And actually, I worked at a few clubs, but very briefly each time. Like, it was always kind of in between jobs when I was like, oh, well, I want to make a lot of money, and strippers make a lot. And I wasn't even working as a stripper, but even cocktail waitresses and stuff. So like, I was always like cocktail waitress, and it was always like maybe a couple weeks at a time. And I didn't really stay at any of those jobs for too long because I was just always chasing after jobs when I was in DC, and I always ended up finding something and being able to leave the in-between stripper or strip club waitress job. And I'm not like making that up. I actually was a waitress, but we like everybody dressed the same. Like, we all dressed up in lingerie. So I got to hang out with dancers while I was there, and I feel like I learned a few things. Probably not as much as strippers actually learn about men every single day, but just being at a strip club as a waitress for a short amount of time, for a few weeks, these are some of the things I learned. So and by the way, the reason why I'm making this video is like, I just saw a video of this girl who talks about that she like says a story about when she was when she was stripping when she was 20, and like this experience she had with a guy who walked in, and he like wanted to have a conversation with her butthole, and he didn't even want to touch it or like do anything. He just wanted to talk to her butthole, and he even like gave it a name and everything. And it just made me laugh because I think like before working at a strip club, a lot of girls think, wow, men are all pigs and all they want to do is touch and have sex and like do stuff, sexual things with women. And yes, men do want to do sexual things, but we all want to do sexual things, and sexual things are really just a translation of our deepest emotions. And sometimes we don't really know what our emotional needs are, and they kind of come out in a sexual way. I think women tend to be a little more like intuitive to our emotions because we're kind of allowed to spend more time with our emotions, and we're just naturally more at least aware of our feelings when they come out. And it's true. I'm not just making this up. Women tend to be more emotionally intuitive than men. A big sign of this is anger issues. Like when anger is usually a sign of holding in your repressed negative feelings. Ooh, that's water. So anger is an example of like when someone holds in their repressed negative emotions for a long time and it comes out in anger. That's what anger is. Anger is like an explosion. It's an emotional explosion. And men tend to experience anger more than women. And that's a good sign of someone that has suppressed their emotions for too long. And it's like the reason why women tend to experience anger less is because we tend to be more open to like feeling the things that we feel. And if you're a woman with anger issues, it's probably because you aren't welcoming your feelings. You're probably and the anger is probably making you even more afraid of your feelings. So you're probably like pushing it down. And so anyway, that's just me talking about sex and emotion. Sex is really just a translation of our feelings. So oftentimes when men are discouraged from feeling the things that they feel, they're not able to think of their feelings in like emotional terms. It has to just come out in a sexual way, which is fine. But that's why people think like all men want is sex, because that's just the medium that men feel the most comfortable in, because they don't feel comfortable sharing their emotions in an emotional fashion the way that women do. So but at this club that I worked at, and there was this one club that I worked at for a couple weeks, and I made a video about it earlier, and it was like kind of like a high-end club, women would get paid a lot of money to do dances, but some of the most money that I've seen men spend on women had nothing to do with dirty dancing or like touching and stuff like that. It was actually just having a conversation, like men just wanting to talk without being yelled back at or ridiculed or made fun of or feeling low. You know, like when you're paying money to a woman to do what she wants, or to anybody, when you pay someone to do something for you, you feel entitled to whatever they're going to do for you. And a lot of times, I mean, a lot of us have, you know, kind of like this imposter syndrome where even if we do pay someone, we still feel like we don't deserve the thing that we get, which is stupid. But a lot of times when you pay someone, and especially when guys walk into a club and they're paying a woman to do the thing that they want the woman to do, there's less of a feeling of like imposter syndrome. You know, a stripper is, if you walk into a club, a stripper is not gonna like listen to you talk about your day, listen to you talk about your problems, and then ridicule you and then make fun of you or tell you that you're stupid. You know what I mean? A stripper's gonna listen because she's getting paid. She's getting what she wants. Her cup is being filled. So she's not gonna, you know, and I think that's what a lot of people go to clubs for. You know, people think like, oh, people that walk into strip clubs are dirty creatures. And, you know, and I really didn't think that at all, actually. Like, what I learned is that people want to feel entitled to the things that they want, you know, and women too. Like women, you know, there's so many times when I wished that I could be a stripper, you know, and that's why I went into those clubs to work, because as a woman, you know, you want certain things. You want to be taken care of financially. You want to be you want to be taken care of for your time that you're spending anywhere. And at those clubs, generally, even as a waitress, you make a lot of money. And as a woman, you want that. You don't care what the guy is going to say or do that's weird. As long as you're being taken care of financially, as long as you're making money, like, who cares, you know? And so, and I think people, like, you know, they kind of think that, like, you know, I think people have a really negative view of strip clubs or the sex industry in general, and think prostitution is just like the worst thing on the planet, exploiting women. And I really don't think that's the case. In fact, I think a lot of exploitation happens outside of that transactional relationship. A lot of exploitation happens when the lines are blurred, when men don't feel comfortable asking for what they want, women don't feel comfortable asking for what they want. And a lot of times the lines are blurred between like what people want in their lives, and there ends up being like miscommunication, and people end up feeling exploited. So strip clubs actually, I think, are a great place for people to set certain boundaries. For a man to say, you know, I'm gonna pay you for this hour for you to just give me attention legally in whatever way that I want you to, and feel safe that he's gonna get it. You know, he wants to watch a woman, you know, or he wants to talk to a woman without feeling that he doesn't belong there. And you know, I don't think that that's so crazy, and I don't think that's any different from what women want. I think like we're all humans, and we're all kind of like way more similar than we think. And that's like one big black box that was opened up for me when I started working, you know, taking these strip club waitressing jobs. Was like, before working in a strip club, I always felt like, you know, or before like even getting to know men in the secular world, like I kind of always in my mind thought that there was this huge difference. You know, we do have gender differences, but it was so strong in my mind. Like it was almost like we're just like a different, you know, like we're just so different that we can't even understand each other or each other's needs. But being in that environment made me realize that there are actually so many similarities between what we want our experiences are certainly going to be different, but us as humans, like the things that make us tick are actually a lot more similar than a lot of people realize. And yeah, that was like a really cool experience for me. Like, why buttholes? Like, so in this video, this girl talks about this guy wanted to have a conversation with her butthole, and he even gave her butthole a name. He called her butthole Linda, and like every time he would walk in the strip club, he would like give her $100 and just sit there for like, you know, 10-15 minutes and talk to the girl's butthole and pretend like he had a relationship with her butthole, like, you know, like, why her butthole, you know what I mean? And I think like there's something very, I think, or what I'm projecting on a man, and correct me if I'm wrong, is there's something very calming and non-judgmental about a butthole. Like, if you're gonna have a conversation with the butthole, it's not gonna talk back to you. It's not gonna tell you that you're stinky or weird, because it's weird and stinky. It's really weird and stinky. And it's not gonna, like, you know, it's just there. It's a welcoming being that is just there, and it's not gonna like put you down for anything. You know, it doesn't have any real needs. And so I think that's where it comes from, you know what I mean? Like, but that's just me projecting, because I have never been attracted to a butthole, because buttholes are weird and stinky and gross. But so yeah, those are some things that I learned about men from working at a strip club. And also just realizing that men can be exploited just as much as women. Like, I always had this idea that, like, you know, women are constantly exploited and the sex industry is all about exploiting women. It's like, oh my God, being at some of these clubs, seeing how women would literally like steal from men. They would literally like pretend to be something that they're not in order to like attract men. They would pretend to be whatever a man that walked in seemed to like, and they were so good at that. And in fact, like, if you ever, I don't know, if you're ever like if you're like, I think like if you're like an intelligence agency, you should hire strippers, because they do some of the best pretending out there. And they will definitely use emotional tactics very cleverly to get men to give them what they want financially. So it's always a two-way thing, and you know, people are always trying to make it like their gender, their side, their person is the most exploited, the most hurt, the most like abused. And in reality, I don't think that's the case. I think everybody's got their own things, their own demons, like their own struggles that they have, their gender, their group, like whatever you are. And it's interesting to be able to sometimes step in the other person's shoes and see what their real feelings are. Anyway, I hope this video was like interesting in some way, but I will see you guys later. Have a great weekend.